Welcome, everybody, to the Purple Rock Podcast, the one and only time we will ever do a video podcast. I am John.
I'm
Andy.
Andy.
You should probably say your name so people can see you.
I'm Matt. Yeah, this time you get to see me, and not only do you get to hear my Canadian accent, you get to hear it with a cold. So you are welcome. And because there's a very real chance I might be medically evacuated this episode, we brought in a third host.
Hey guys, it's Emrat Fink from the AV Club.
I love it.
Also Matt.
Yes, now that you have a face, we're going to call you by a real name.
That's very unfortunate. But yeah, no, I'm always happy to take Andy's place when he can't be here or is otherwise incapacitated.
Yeah, you're like the first runner-up of the beauty contest that is the Purple Rock Podcast.
So you're saying I'm Jeffra?
She didn't win? Maybe she'll win this
I think
one.
she said she finished second twice.
Wow. I think the best she can hope for is a second place finish.
So
you say this is our only video podcast.
So for the three
I
tribes,
feel like
does that
we
make...
said that we were only ever going to do one podcast, and look where we are today.
Yeah, who knows?
Pretty solid point.
All right, be a host.
Yeah, so if we're calling Matt Beauty, does that mean that we're three tribes? Do I get to be Brains then?
Sure, I could be Braun. You don't know what I have under this sweater.
Other than those text messages you've been sending me, I have no idea.
That was Brett Favre.
Okay. So, back on track. At least we'll try to be. Let's talk about the episode, because I'm going to be distractingly looking at my notes on the computer in this direction while you guys look at the side of my face.
Well, that's your good side, right?
If only. So, anyway, I think point number one, first thing I want to talk about is the Tony and Sarah dynamic, because before the season, Andy jumped on board the Sarah bandwagon, said, I'm behind the wheel of this thing, jump on. And he has Tony on his fantasy team as well. I kind of feel
My
like...
first place fantasy team.
That it is. I kind of feel like the dynamic is shifting there. We were all on board with Sarah, especially after the first episode. And since then, she's kind of going downhill. Tony's on the upswing. What do you think, Andy?
I would hate to be somebody who talks on a podcast listening by literally hundreds of people and said that, Tony has zero chance of winning. Like, what kind of dumbass would have done that after one episode? But honestly, no, I don't stand by that. But yes, he's doing so much better than she is right now. She has not had a good couple of episodes, but that said, I still like her chances of winning. I still think she's one of the top handful of players that has a shot at winning this thing right now.
I'll actually agree with that, and I will say, as the former driver of the Chatia bandwagon, cheers.
Yeah, there's not many people that are really distinguishing themselves, though, in terms of, real front runners, though, this season.
Yeah, so basically then you have to, who's the show focusing on? Who is getting featured? And Sarah is definitely a featured player. Obviously, that could be because she decided to throw a challenge, and you'd have to tell that story through her. But I think there's more to it than that. So I think right now LJ is the front runner, but I might still have Sarah at number 2, even though I've been face-palming all the time when she does her things.
So LJ brings up a good point. We have a unbiased third party here. Matt, weigh in on the LJ versus Jeremiah attractiveness debate.
I think it's entirely based upon your age group. I think I would wager, and this might, be wrong, that the older folk will favor LJ, while the younger folk will favor Jeremiah, just because they seem to, LJ has seemed to, even though they're the same age, apparently, LJ just seems to kind of appeal towards a more mature focus. But I'll go with LJ. He has more personality than Jeremiah.
It's not on that, old man, John.
I am wildly immature, and I picked LJ.
There you go, then.
But yeah, getting back to Tony, Sarah has completely bought everything Tony is selling. He is dictating the terms of what's going on right now. So he's accomplishing what he wants to do. That said, getting back to my very first opinion, I'm not sure what he wants to do is a good thing. Like, what happened last night could have spectacularly blown up in Tony's face. It's not hard for me to imagine a scenario where they successfully... Okay, so it's actually hard for me to imagine a scenario where they successfully throw the challenge to the Brains, but say they did.
Especially this challenge.
Yes, exactly. But and Wu decides that it doesn't really sit well with him, and he decides, you know what, me, Cliff, and Lindsay, we're going to vote out Sarah. And Trish isn't willing to draw rocks to save her hide, and Sarah's gone, and Tony's without an ally. Like, that's the sort of thing that could happen while you're playing the kind of game Tony's playing, instead of just kind of coasting and winning, which they could have done easily.
I feel like we talked about last week the overplaying thing. Sarah jumped on that this week.
Oh, yeah.
There's no reason to throw the challenge. You know, there was no reason for Tony to try to, like, put hooks in her last week. I really don't get it, that there's something with cops and overplaying this season.
Well, one of the reasons I actually really liked Tony this week, even though he didn't do that much, was actually kind of precisely because he didn't do that much. Well, no, it was he had planted the seed in Sarah's brain that other people were conspiring against her, and then he let her come to the conclusion that she needed to get rid of Cliff and Lindsay. Now, he was never suggesting that they throw a challenge, but had they just lost normally, he would have wanted her to come to the same conclusion. And he kind of he planted the seed to make her make the decision independently that he wanted her to make, which is why I like what he did.
In fact, Tony has been saying on Twitter that he didn't know they were throwing the challenge, which absolutely could be true, right?
Matter.
He sat out, right?
Yep,
so,
he did.
Yeah, he sat out.
So yeah, he didn't really do anything wrong this week. It was all Sarah. And, you know, we spent a lot of time last week talking about whether it's right to throw a challenge. I think we both are pretty neutral on the idea. Like, yes, sometimes it is. To the point where maybe we shouldn't have talked about it so much last week, because what the heck do we have to talk about this week? But,
yeah.
But this was the wrong way to do it. Cliff was the wrong kind of player to do it for.
Right. And this was the wrong time to do it.
Yes.
And the wrong challenge. If us three were on a tribe right now and you really wanted to get me gone, and just to humor Andy, say there was an accounting challenge coming up, because Andy assumes I'm an accountant.
You work with numbers, right? That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Wouldn't you guys just say, ooh, maybe this is not the ideal challenge for us to throw?
Right, because it basically would require one of us to take the place of the person who has made their living doing this precise activity to actually throw the challenge.
Right.
Yeah,
I might start
Cliff
to get
Robinson.
Suspicious if you said to me, no, John, I got this. Don't worry about the accounting. It's all me.
Yeah, exactly.
Cliff, you have the most three-pointers ever by a player over 6'10" before Dirk Nowitzki came along. You sit this one out. We got this. Right. You've been working pretty hard. You were talking during the shouting challenge, because I'm not sure Cliff actually did much in that challenge. But yeah, they should have, as soon as they said this is a basketball one, should have been like, nah.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I was thinking is that if there was a reward attached to this challenge, do you think they still throw it?
I think they still try, and I don't think they're able to.
Yeah, no. They could have played this 100 times. And look, God bless Spencer. He actually made it close. But
yeah, he had a good, 1950s style, white man shot there with the, set shot, with the whole feet set, two-handed. It was nice to see there.
Mike Dunleavy Jr. is really proud of that shot. He likes that one. So,
but yeah, getting back to what you were saying, I think this has been a season of people overplaying. Sarah was doing it tonight. The Brains tribe has been doing it since Jump Street, and I think you actually made this point. This is what happens when it's all new people. They make mistakes.
You either get people making mistakes because they're overplaying, or people making mistakes because they're underplaying. And the winner is usually the person who is doing neither.
Right, and I don't know who that person is yet.
No, me neither. I got no idea.
In the past, when you have the recruits coming in, you have the problem of underplaying because they don't know the game. They don't know any moves to do. We saw that with Reynolds and Eddie, who needed Malcolm to guide them because they had no ideas of their own. And then you get people like Cowboy Rick who just kind of sit there and they don't do anything, and that's the underplaying newbies.
Yeah,
so
you get to the last
somewhere
episode.
in the middle.
But I do wonder what it's going to be like for the rest of the season, because we've had kind of unusual people being taken out. I mean, not tonight. Jatia, disaster. Can't believe she wasn't taken out.
We'll get to
before
Jatia in a minute.
But I almost wonder what, like, the second half of this game is going to be when everybody seems to be targeting people right away. Is it just going to be like Gabon, where it's just a bunch of terrible people at the end?
I mean,
nothing but objectionable people left.
I mean, it could end up being kind of like One World. One World had a fairly interesting pre-merge where there was a lot happening, and then once they hit the merge, there was one vote in question, and after that, Kim just ran the table. It could be that someone does the same thing. I don't think they will, though, because the 3-tribe thing kind of makes it so the numbers won't be there, but it could be that type of dynamic.
Yeah, and...
Okay.
Sorry, John, you say something.
Sorry. So I was going to talk about the challenge thing. Did either of you guys think that anyone from Braun presented any sort of valid justification for throwing that challenge? I know Sarah walked around and she was talking to the other people saying, hey, we got to throw this. Woo, first of all, his reasoning was, yeah, we got to get Cliff out because Cliff's a millionaire and no one will vote to give him the money. Or no one wants to give him money. How is that not the reason to keep Cliff?
To keep Cliff.
I think what happened there is that was the justification Sarah had to win Wu over to her side. Not so much to throw the challenge. Like, Sarah's justification is that Cliff is trying to get me out. I don't want that to happen, so I will get Cliff out. And I think this happens pretty frequently. As soon as you feel targeted by somebody in this game, you just become laser focused. I got to take this person out. And it happens to the best of them. This is what happened to Rob in Heroes vs. Villains. He wouldn't let go of the fact that he wanted to get out Russell. And obviously Russell was after him, but if he would have maybe shifted gears to Parvati, then maybe Coach doesn't vote him out. So that's what happened with Sarah. And I think she was concerned that what is going to happen next week was going to happen, and she'd end up on a tribe with, Cliff, and Cliff suddenly has more allies to vote her out. I'm not convinced Wu was as on board as he seemed to be. I mean, he was mostly doing what you're supposed to do in Survivor. Somebody approaches you with the idea of an alliance, and you say, yep, sure.
Note, Jonathan Penner, pay attention to this.
Because you think Wu was actually throwing the challenge?
I think he gave it about an 80%. I don't think he went 100% on it. I think he couldn't quite commit to throwing it, but I think he sort of tried to.
Yeah, that's fair. He did the one time early on he came up without a ball, but after that he came up with a couple of them when he was diving down. So he was obviously trying to some extent, but yeah, he may not have been giving it 100%.
Yeah, well, I think he was giving the throwing the challenge, not 100%, It's like he knew that the social pressure was there, that there were people that were obviously throwing it. So he, was like, I'll try, but his heart wasn't in either the challenge itself or throwing it. Which is, I don't think Wu was particularly interested in voting Cliff out tonight, which he should not have been. Cliff is his ally, even if you're worried about Future One, even if you want to be in what looks to be a majority. There's no sense in getting rid of somebody that isn't trying to get rid of you.
Because the fact is, whereas Sarah maybe can't use Cliff if a swap happens and the numbers are wrong, Wu totally can.
Absolutely, and we're about to find out if he can.
Right, because we're getting a swap.
Yes, we are. But before we leave the challenges thing, I want to talk about Jatia. Is Jatia... rank her historically. How bad at challenges is she? Give me some names that outrank her in terms of challenge horribleness.
I think the issue is anybody who is worse than Jatia gave us less evidence. They weren't around for as many challenges as she was.
I will propose Chet from Micronesia. He was pretty darn terrible.
Yes, he was. You should mention your favorite scene from Micronesia, because it's funny.
You mean Ogre dragging him through the obstacle course?
The best challenge ever. Joel, I know you're on Twitter. I just randomly want to send you links to that video, because it's so terrible yet so funny, and I feel so bad every time I laugh about it. He probably got several concussions on that challenge.
I mean,
Chet actually did have to get medically. Well, no, he didn't get medically evacuated. They forced him to quit, but then he spent a lot of time in the hospital as a result after that. Chet was hapless. There's helpless. What? What's the word?
Both work there.
Hapless? Yeah, that's the word.
It totally works.
We don't say that word in Canada. But what Jatia had was a versatility to her suckingness that very few people did. She sucked in so many ways. Yeah. Just take last night's reward challenge, where they found basically the most useless thing that somebody would have to do. It was just awkward that there was somebody just standing there with a blindfold who had to just wait until they had to pull the dumbwaiter up. And she screwed that up royally.
Yeah, she was terrible.
That was, it just reminds me of the quote, "We gave you one job. One job." And she couldn't do that part.
Yeah. I'd actually, written in my notes, it was like, the third blindfolded person in this challenge is almost completely superfluous, and Jatea is almost still sucking at it. And then I had to go back and delete, completely sucking at it.
Yeah. So, one quick note here. Tasha is a little bit at fault here, because why make Jatia keep going to fix the flag when clearly Jatia is your least competent player?
Yes.
Like, throw Cass or Spencer in there to fix that.
It's not even about fixing the flag there. It's about pulling the rope at the same time. You know, they're right next to the Beauty Tribe, and the Beauty Tribe was actually counting off each pull. I don't know if you guys heard that. Why did that never occur to them?
The Beauty Tribe can only count to 5, so they were resetting after 5.
Well, now that you bring it up.
They only have the 5 fingers on the hand, so that's as high as they could go.
But now that you bring it up, I teased this out earlier in a different form. Now that Jatia is gone, I think Tash is the worst player left in the game. She just does not communicate well with people. She is combative. Why was it so important that flag was in the exact right position rather than say, hey, we better start pulling because that other team is catching up right now? She's bossy. She has no interest in forming bonds with people, which, I don't know, is kind of important in Survivor. I know nobody else feels that way, but I've had enough of people saying, oh, I think Tasha's pretty good at this game, that I'm going the other way. She's terrible.
I guess
here's the thing.
Twitter.
She was still better than 3 other people in her tribe. I will say that, but she's also terrible.
You're not allowed to use bossy anymore, Andy. Twitter has said so. There's a hashtag and everything.
Well,
so Tasha is not bossy.
He didn't get that in Canada, obviously.
She's just combative and poor functioning socially and doesn't adjust very well on the fly and cannot commit to a line of thinking.
So let's talk about her decision then, because she and Cass, I thought they played this very well. I mean, there was very little chance that Spencer was going to align with Jatia to try to take out one of them. But the perfect thing to do was to tell both of them, tell Spencer, it could be you this time, and then have Jatia thinking it might be her, just because that ensures that those two are going to vote for each other.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree with you more. This is a chance to bring Spencer into the fold, which they should have been doing from the minute they voted out Garrett. And to my earlier discussion, Tasha has no interest in that. She somehow thinks it's better to string somebody along, thus creating the very scenario that she's terrified of happening next week. The chance that Spencer and Jatia would team up, I would put at less than 1%. I would say that Jatia had a better chance of winning all of Survivor than Spencer and Jatia teaming up to, force a tie? So that Spencer could hitch his wagon to Jatia? No, all he had to do was say, hey, Spence, you're with us. Let's just not let Crazy alone with our 3 grains of rice, and we'll get this done. And I think it just goes to the overplaying thing again. People are so worried about some random thing happening that they're setting up scenarios that could hurt them. The Beauty Tribe last week, splitting the vote, almost cost them. Sometimes you just have to trust that your move is going to work, and if it doesn't, chucks.
So do you think that, nice. We don't have a beep button, so watch yourself.
I said chucks.
I know, but you hesitated. Do you think that Cass's decision to vote to keep Spencer, I should say, was motivated at all because she was worried that if they did have one more vote, that Tasha would stay more loyal to Jatia than her, keep a goat rather than keep Cass?
I think it was more simply one of them was useless and one was not. I don't know why we were thinking about it that hard. Jatia was a drain on the tribe. And here's another thing that's going on, and apparently I'm not going to let Matt speak at all. But people...
Hey, Matt, welcome to the club.
Yeah, people online seem to be so convinced or thinking about the way of thinking that Tasha was trying to present. A swap is not a merge. If you keep Jatia, she might still be on your tribe, and then you have to compete as a tribe. And guess what? You stay losing.
Yeah, and this is the other thing. And Spencer actually brought this up at Tribal Council. And I think the most important thing to have in an alliance member isn't necessarily loyalty. It's actually predictability.
Yeah, that factors in pretty heavily. That's come up in previous seasons that you'd rather have at least someone whose behaviors you understand. Like if I were on Survivor, I would be totally fine with allying with Richard Hatch because I know he operates logically. I know what I can expect from Richard. As long as I'm advancing his game and it's mutually beneficial, he's going to stay loyal.
Right. This is basically the Yul Kwan argument of alliances. This is exactly how he pitched it to Penner, and this is apparently what he said to Cochran before Cochran went back on, which is that you find someone who you know exactly what they're, whose interest you know exactly what they are, and you ally with them because you know what they'll do. Yeah,
and to use a poker analogy, which there's been far too much, trying to compare poker, but I'm doing it anyway. Sometimes a really skilled player will just lose to a terrible player because you can't predict what they're going to do. They'll just keep throwing in money when they have a terrible hand. And look at that, it worked out. And that's what trying to play with a player like Jatia would be like. That's why I called her a Shamar, and it kind of looks like I nailed that one, right down to the point where they finally got rid of her right before the swap happened. Rob Sesternino made this point, and I'm actually crediting him for this one, and it was a good one, that in Nicaragua, Sash, put his game on somebody like Nayaka and Purple Kelly. They're going to win. And guess what happened? They just up and quit. Right. And Sash was left holding the bag. That's why you don't team with crazy.
Right. Unpredictable
and
players
I don't know if it gets more crazy than Jatia.
Unpredictable players can hurt your game even when they're still in your alliance. Brandon Hance did this all the time in South Pacific. He was causing them to have to accelerate plans constantly because he would say something at Tribal Council and then they'd have to put that fire out. And
I gotta say, sorry, I'll actually let you continue.
Oh my God, what? No.
Trademark Canadian politeness, letting you continue.
I know, right? No, and I was gonna say that they probably got rid of him earlier than they might. I bet there was at least one of those three in Albert, Sophie, and Coach that was actually planning to take him to the end as a GOAT. And it just got to the point where they could not do that. And when he gave up his immunity to Albert, it was just, now's the time. Get rid of him.
Yeah, and I actually think that one of the big things that cost Coach was all of the things he had to do to keep Brandon on his side.
Yes.
If he didn't have to, enforce prayer circles and all of that, then maybe people don't hate him as much and are willing to look at the things he did. But because he had to do so much to keep crazy on his side, he lost everyone.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. But you contrast this, and again, there's two types of crazy. There's the Brandon Hance, Jatia crazy, which is just totally unpredictable. You really don't know what they're going to do. And then there's the Phillip crazy, which is weird as hell, but it's somewhat predictable.
It's incredibly predictable. Once you kind of get the sense, it's just and Boston Rob nailed it. He was just a guy who was looking for somebody to give him a little bit of validation.
Yes.
And Rob didn't even have to give that much because everybody else was giving him so little.
There was so little anywhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, Cochran and Andrea that next season was the same way. It was like, look, Philip isn't going to hurt us. Right. We just got to humor him.
Yeah, we'll play along with your little nickname game. We just want you as a solid vote. And that worked fine until Malcolm got too annoyed with him. So before we get to our 0% club discussion this week, I wanted to address.
Are you ready to
something.
put your tea in yet? Are you ready?
I think I might have the will to do it this week. One of the things that blew my mind, did you guys notice? So they have the chickens that they win, the Beauty Tribe does, for the reward challenge. Do you think they actually just said, okay, we have to kill a chicken, which one of you has a southern accent?
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that's what happened.
Yeah.
Oh, you talk.
Because clearly LJ had... Yeah. LJ has, been around horses, so maybe it's him. No. Jeremiah, you have a southern accent. Yeah, go ahead.
To be fair, I think he twisted the head, right off, which is kind of impressive.
Yeah, honestly,
They blurred it out, so I couldn't really see.
But the way they were saying that,
realize
running around
that a chicken will run around? Yeah, and there's an expression, like a chicken with its head cut off. Have none of them ever heard that expression? Do they think that's just...
Apparently not.
How is chicken with its head cut off not the episode title? Because that basically describes most of the people playing Survivor right now.
Oh, you're just gunning for that editor/producer job, aren't you?
Well, apparently I can't apply to be on the show.
All right, now that I've said my piece about the Beauty Tribe and their inability to grasp both chicken reproduction and how to kill off a chicken, let's talk 0%. Matt, since you're our guest this week, well, I'll be the kind, gracious American host and let you go first. Who would you add to a 0% club?
I have one name who I'm considering. I'm not 100% sure that they're 0%, but I'm 99. But I'm still kind of considering it. But basically, I think Cliff has a 0% chance to win the game.
It's not the 1% club. It's the 0% club.
I'll commit to it. I think Cliff has a 0% chance to win the game. Because,
I hadn't even thought of it, but I think I have to agree.
Yeah. One, if you just kind of look at the amount of airtime he's getting compared to the other famous people, professional athletes that's been on, it's been less, I think.
Yep.
And two, we already have talk from people who actually like him that they wouldn't give him $1 million. So he would really have to just get in there with two people that do really reprehensible things. And even that, I'm not sure if they'll give him the money.
I don't know if he could. I don't think he's the type of player that would align himself with dirtbags.
Right, because they wouldn't.
I'm not even sure there are that many around this season right now. We got a question coming up later about that, and
yeah,
I'm not sure. So yeah, and to your point about the fact that they're really not featuring him, they couldn't get enough of Jimmy Johnson, even though he was completely inconsequential.
Right. Jeff Kent got a lot of time too, though he lasted.
Yeah, he lasted longer. He was a prime mover. I'm kind of thinking that Cliff Robinson is probably the third most famous sports person they've ever had on the show. Jimmy Johnson is obviously number one. And then I put Jeff Kent ahead of them, but then Cliff Robinson. And, yeah, they're not really using him much. They're much more interested in Sarah and Tony. Tony is obvious. He's giving them everything they want him to give them.
Right.
But, you'd think they would squeeze a little bit more of Cliff in, but he's just kind of there, hanging out.
Yeah, and I would even say that the third person that's getting the most airtime on Braun is Wu.
At least last night.
Barely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a dead tie because a lot of them were the same conversation.
That's true.
So yeah, I guess the path to be would be that everybody who knows he's a professional basketball player gets taken out. But I got to say, I don't think it's a tough inference for the other people to make either.
No. Especially after last night's challenge.
Right. That said, they could have just assumed that he would have been good at that due to racism.
There you go. Racism gets people pretty far in life, so.
So, all right, you kind of stole my thunder. That's your only one you're adding, right?
That's the only one.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna take the plunge and I was gonna add Cliff this week too, but
really?
I also had another one because I was gonna go to Braun this week.
Wow.
Cliff, and I'm going to add Lindsay. I came so close before. I'm gonna do it. I don't see it. I don't see that she has really tight bonds with anyone besides Cliff, and I think once Cliff is gone, I think Lindsay's probably pretty soon after that.
And
so there you go. I got two this week.
I'm not adding anybody. I so desperately wanted to add Tasha just so I could go on the rant, but I already did. And also, I'm just not sure what kind of season this is yet. I still feel very confident about the people I've already added. Okay, maybe less confident about Tony, but I think Tony could go to 2. I just don't think he's the type of player that wins. But I'm actually starting to be won over by Tony, and not just because he's nice to us on Twitter. Hey, Tony. But yeah, I'm going to hold off this week. I've been a little trigger happy with my 0%er, so.
Yeah. Although I have to say that anybody
see the
Clip Club, you have like a 95% chance of being right, just because there's only one.
I'm trying to think of like winners in the past, and like if I ever would have screwed up putting them in, like would I have been like, this Fabio guy's a joke? There's no way.
Yeah, I think I would have blown that one. I would have probably blown Natalie White too. Whoa, phrasing.
See, not me. I actually had Natalie White picked very early on. Not like super early on, but post-merge. Probably the episode where she killed the rat. And I'm like, I think she's winning. Because I knew Russell couldn't win for the same reason why I think Tony can't win. So I was like, who else? And it's like, oh, why'd they show that stupid scene? Because they need something in her clip reel.
Yeah.
Okay. And you briefly mentioned Survivor Twitter, so I should point out that, yes, Tony has been I think there's 2 different types of ways to handle Twitter as a survivor, and Jatia and Tony are very good examples of both extremes. Jatia seems very easily offended and almost makes me think she hasn't experienced the internet before, because the internet is a terrible, hurtful, awful place.
But she arts nerds. I don't understand.
So, careful, she's going to give us a very icy tweet our direction. Tony, on the other hand, is being portrayed as a villain. He's embracing it. He's loving it. He realizes it's just a TV show and it's an edit. He gets tons of haters on Twitter, and he's just like, yeah, well, whatever. He's catching some flack from people because he swore on his badge this week, as if that's some terrible, awful oath that he broke by swearing on his badge and lying to her. Whatever. Tony gets it. It's a show. It's for fun. Who cares?
I mean, lying to Survivor about your intentions in Survivor is nothing. That's
right. That's
bluffing in poker.
Everyone does it. If you don't do it, then you're just going to be one of those really annoying jury members.
I don't think you get to the jury if you don't do it. I think some of those first boots probably didn't have to lie because they sucked and they were gone.
Yep.
When you don't lie about your intentions as a survivor, you lose rice, apparently. No, I mean, I have no problem with Tony and what he's doing. I just don't think it's a path to victory. But, he's been relatively entertaining, and yeah, sure, lie. My thing more is lie about your intentions, about whether you're going to be nice to somebody, whether you're going to vote them out or not. But don't stir up trouble until you need to.
Agreed. And speaking of Twitter, we have a question from Twitter tonight, and I think it's a good one because we'll see what your opinion is. But we have a question from @XLPelican, and he says, as things stand now, who are the GOATs in this game? Andy, go first. Take up all of our airtime like you always do.
Do you think XL Pelican is like the New Orleans Saints mascot? Because if so, I'm terrified to answer.
Ooh, NBA reference. Good, we got a streak going.
That mascot is legitimately terrifying.
Or at least the old one. And then they had to come up with a whole story of why to do it. And then they have King Baby Cakes, who is more terrifying. It's like the writers of that show that was on HBO, just True Detective. They're the ones that picked out the mascots for New Orleans. I actually don't think there is a GOAT right now.
I was going to make a True Detective boob joke. I'm not going to do it. I want to let it sit there.
That's right. We've elevated ourselves. But yeah, honestly, I don't think there's a GOAT right now. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier. I don't look at one person thinking that person is not going to get any votes. I think what the easy thought might be, and maybe what you guys are going to say, is like Jeffra and Alexis. But I need to see more of their social game. Maybe they're the kind of people that people will like. And being likable is enough to kind of hurt your GOAT status. For me, a GOAT is just somebody that people, doesn't matter how mad they are at you, they just couldn't ever vote for them.
I have a potential GOAT, though if you want to go first, John, please do.
No, go ahead.
I think Trish might be a potential GOAT. And this is why it goes into what you were saying. If people like you, you're not a good goat. I don't think that Trish is going to be well liked by a full tribe. I could see her being embraced by an alliance, though even there she rubs people on Braun the wrong way. But she kind of really strikes me like who was third when Cochran runs?
Sherry?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first name that popped into my head when you said that she might be a goat. Is she would be the Sherry?
Yeah.
For me, Tasha is the Sherry.
Well, actually, I was just thinking about that. I didn't think about that before this, but since your rant on her, I was thinking, I'm kind of wondering who would actually like her enough to vote for her. Because even if you're working with her, because I don't think, because Spencer, who's allied with her right now, probably wouldn't vote for her. And I don't think Cass particularly likes her, though maybe she'd vote for her. So you really got, if you're thinking about like who would vote for her, you got to think about people who would actually like you enough to vote for you.
Yeah, and like who's she going to like put aside her right now dominant personality for in order to ingratiate herself to a larger alliance? Because that's what she's going to have to do. She has 1.5 allies right now in the game. She's going to have to come in quiet and let it happen. Now, it worked out for Sherry, but basically it worked out for Sherry only because she ended up on the tribe where they did not lose post-swap.
Right. Yeah.
And then
she wound up with like the
merge,
7.
It was like,
yeah, she wound up with like the 7, Adonises of that season, and her.
Yeah, which is really funny because she wouldn't vote out Shamar because she's like, oh, if I get stuck on a tribe with Reynolds and Eddie, I'm going to be in trouble. And it's like, one, maybe that's why you shouldn't have been jerks to them. And
right.
Two, being on the tribe with Reynolds and Eddie got you to third place.
Yep.
It seems like such a hard thing for people to grasp, but I know I'm the person that said, throw a challenge when you need to. The best way to avoid not being voted out is to avoid going to tribal council. And the best way to avoid that is to, get rid of people that are going to continually send you to tribal council.
I will say I feel like the Braun tribe is a little stir crazy at the moment. They haven't lost a tribe yet. It's 12 days in, something like that. I feel like when you haven't had your first tribal council, the longer it goes, the more and more stir crazy you get, and you just get like insane about your own alliance. And even in Palau, which was the season of dominance, they had to vote one of their own out around this point because they made them. They did a double tribal council. They got rid of one guy, and then that kind of preserved the harmony for the rest of it. But in Philippines, the douchebag tribe. Can I say that?
Yeah, sure. I think it was Tandang.
Yeah, sure. They never went to tribal council, and they could not wait to just air all their grievances the second it got to merge. And it killed them. It just destroyed them.
No, and I think the wise scholar George W. Bush once said, coined the phrase catastrophic victory. And that's what I think happens in Survivor sometimes, is that you do so well that you just can't take care of internal business. But, I mean, come on, we're only 4 votes in here, Braun Tribe. Settle down.
Right. I mean, we've really only ever seen one tribe that absolutely hated each other and yet still managed to keep working together to win the game. And that was in...
that's how bad Terry Dietz was as a social player.
Yes. Because
he had the most powerful idol ever, and he couldn't crack those people.
Right. They hated each other. And, yeah. But they stayed together. So sometimes I guess that's not enough.
All right, John, goats. Bah.
Isn't that sheep?
I don't know.
I feel like I'm on the beauty.
Goat and a sheep.
I'm on the beauty tribe. Let's start talking about animals right now. What's a goat versus a sheep sound?
I don't know. What does my Canadian accent think that I'd have? Polar bears, moose, caribou.
Whatever you fur traders do with those animals. I'm pretty sure that's what your economy still revolves around, right? Fur trade?
I think my ancestors were fur traders.
By ancestors, you mean like mom and dad?
I mean, I think I legitimately 5 generations ago. Anyway.
Oh, Canadian stereotypes are the best.
Because they're true.
They are. I don't know that I have a goat. I kind of feel like there's definitely candidates, but I think it's too early, and there's no one that's so objectionable that they'd make a great goat. I mean, you don't have, Jatia probably would have fit if she'd stuck around.
Yeah.
But at this point, I don't know that anybody's left that is so just grating and awful that would never get votes at the end that you want as the GOAT.
Tony could get there. If he continues to overplay and be a little aggressive, and you can somehow survive his, machinations, then maybe in the way that, Russell was for Natalie White. Yeah. But I almost think that Tony's too much of a prime mover to use as your GOAT. And again, you could mention Russell. It didn't really work out well for Parvati, and it certainly didn't work out well for Danielle.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. I mean, and this is actually just, I think it's good casting this season that we get a lot of people who are mostly likable. The two people who I would have pegged as GOATs have both been voted out, Jatia and Garrett. Because Garrett would have been a classic GOAT. Because his social game was so bad that there's no way he could have won.
Yeah, and then we thought Spencer would be a problem, but...
no, Spencer's great. Yeah. I'm going to say, I think Spencer is right now my third favorite to win.
How do you think Spencer played it last night? What was your thoughts? Because he was kind of passive.
But what else can he do? He can't be aggressive. He doesn't have the numbers. He's, his best possible move is just shut up and hope that Jatia starts another fire, basically, a figurative fire.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think basically all what you have to do in that situation, where it's between the sensible choice and the crazy choice, is just to calmly make your case and then just let it percolate. Because if you get really insistent on your case, I think it's only going to backfire.
Yeah, so I agree 100%. I think the reasons why they were thinking of voting him out is that, he's deceptive, he's a game player and all of that. So if you make too aggressive a play, you're just confirming their worst fears. And also, I think if you try too hard to tell Tasha what to do, she'll just do the opposite because she doesn't want to be told what to do.
Right. You might be able to convince Cass, because I do think that, and I think Spencer and Cass have more of a bond than Spencer and Tasha did, or do, I don't know. But Tasha, whatever you say to her, if you go too strong, she's just going to want to rebel. Even when he gave her a soft pitch, she immediately thought, I don't want to do what he says, I want to keep Jatia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, it reminds me of, we discussed before the season even started, that the Brains tribe would be so bad because everyone wants to be the leader. They don't want to be told what to do. Everyone's like, I'm the smartest, I'll take control. Tasha kind of did live up to that. Yeah, because at least if we're to believe the editing, as soon as Spencer said something to her, she was suddenly like, now I don't want to vote Spencer.
Yeah, I mean, she did it with Garrett, right? And for all of Garrett's problems, and he was no prize, they'd be one member stronger if he had stuck around. Because I think that they could have beaten throwing the challenge Braun Tribe with him instead of Jatia. They might also have some eggs in their belly. But actually, Tasha was, when I said that tribes would be like that and nobody would want to follow, Tasha was the prime example. Her, entry video, I believe she even said something to that effect, I always need to be in charge, and I was just like, ooh boy.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is why I never thought that David Sampson was going to do any good, because I figured that he'd be like that, and he kind of was. And Tasha's like this. Garrett was kind of like that. It's just, I feel, the two people who have survived that aren't named Tasha in that tribe have done so because they've been able to kind of bury their own tendency towards that quality. And I think that will serve them well during the swap, whereas Tasha's, as you said, her tendency to try and take control is not going to serve her well when she's going to be down numbers.
All right, let's use that transition because I believe we have a question about the swap. John?
Yes, we do. Diego Armando asks us, who do you think will benefit the most from a tribe swap, and who do you think will get screwed over by the swap?
John, let's let you start because we haven't let you talk in a while.
Oh, this is my podcast too, so I should be the one talking.
Well, sure. As the host, you're supposed to let the guests talk a lot.
Yeah. Well, welcome to both of my guests again. I think this is too hard to answer just because we don't know who's going to be ending up on what tribe. Some people could benefit from a tribe swap. It just depends who they're grouped with.
Yes.
So to flip it then, who most needed a swap right now?
Well, apparently Cliff could truly use a tribe swap at the moment. I think probably Spencer too. I kind of agree with the consensus opinion that as soon as Spencer has the chance, he's gone. He bails on those two girls.
Yeah, and I think when I got back to what I said before, they created that scenario. If they were just good to him in the way that you should always be good to everybody who is still in the game, because while they're still there, they are a potential asset, then he wouldn't be so induced to flip. But now it's like, why should he be loyalty? They made him sweat every last second to stay ahead of the person that threw out their rice.
Right. I mean, they were even discussing during tribal council, and he was like, you could just tell that he was fuming inside at the fact that they still hadn't made up their mind.
Yeah. I would say Morgan needs a swap the most.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think Morgan is the type of player who could actually really benefit from a swap because unlike some of the other players, I think she won't be targeted and she might be able, and I think she can ingratiate herself with a larger group of people.
Yeah, she's not a problem in alliance or in challenges so far as we've seen. So there's no reason to
I think she's actually the strongest girl on the beauty tribe, and that tribe has been doing pretty well in challenges. So
she has no loyalty to the people that she's with, and I'm sure she won't have a problem letting people know that. So obviously, yeah, it all depends on how it shakes up, but I think Morgan could benefit the most because right now, despite doing an admirable job of trying to throw shade on Jeremiah, I don't think there was any way for her to work her way up in that tribe. But now it's a new day.
You totally lost me. I went into a coma after you said Morgan and swap. My mind just ran off to the other places.
Your wife doesn't listen to this, right?
No.
Now, one person I'm hoping does well in the swap is Sarah, in that I hope Cliff and her end up on different tribes so she can stop chasing that crazy dream. It's throwing off her game and she can get back to business. Whether she stays with Tony or without, that doesn't really matter to me. But continually changing her game to get rid of somebody who isn't even a real threat to her is going to do her in. So hopefully that's pushed aside.
Yeah, some time away from Tony could really benefit her game, I think.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, who is going to get hurt most from this?
I'm going to say either Alexis or Jeffra.
Yeah, I can see that. Suddenly now they become the superfluous players.
Yeah, they're the weak links. If they get separated from the majority, if they lose a challenge, the tribe, if they don't want to lose another one, they might say, okay, we'll vote one of them out. Yeah, so I could see one of those two being hurt by a swap. I could also see if we get a really ridiculous all-star style swap where it's the exact same tribes except one person changes. I could see Jeremiah just being screwed because unlike, say, LJ, he doesn't have an idol.
I don't know that. I think it's at least he's not going to be screwed right away just because you're still going to have to stick to a team concept with challenge for a couple more episodes.
Right. We still have 2 or 3 more eliminations before the merge.
Yeah,
right.
Swap is not a merge, people. Let's try to remember that. They still have to compete as tribes against another tribe. And I don't think it'll be like a swallowing of, the Brains tribe like it has been in other seasons. Brain swallowing. Yeah, that's bad. But yeah, because there's 3 people and it just doesn't make sense. You would be closing a gap or extending it for no reason.
Right.
But, and I think Tasha is not going to do well, and I've already said that. This has been my Bash Natasha podcast, I suppose.
Well, it's actually interesting. I was just looking at the numbers. So they're going to swap the 2 tribes to 7. It's possible that the Brains can go in with a plurality, where they have 3 and the other 2 tribes swap in with 2 each.
That's a good point. I hadn't even thought of that.
And there's no way that in that situation, I don't think the 2 would team up with each other because they know that come merge time, they're each other's biggest threat. So
don't you think the Brains will still find a way to screw that up?
Probably. I think they probably could. But I'm just saying that would be a really bizarre scenario where suddenly the Brains have a lot of power.
I hadn't thought of that. Mostly because people tend to always want majorities in this game. And they forget that, plurality is enough.
Right.
But yeah, I think
it's a crazy Canadian concept.
We don't have like one choice or the other choice in our politics. We actually get to vote for many parties, so it's not just like I didn't vote for Kronos.
Don't blame me. I voted for Kodos.
Yeah. But yeah, although even in that scenario, I could find Spencer be like, "Screw you guys, I'm over here. Peace."
Yeah, actually, even if they had the three of them on the same tribe, there's a better than average chance that Spencer still says, "Sorry, ladies, I'm jumping over to whoever else will take me."
Yeah.
Or even better, Tasha still won't commit to Spencer in that scenario. And,
yeah.
And Cass still just stays non-committal until she sees which way the ball bounces, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be pretty fantastic.
So not only is it hard for us to decide who is going to benefit most from the swap, it basically makes predicting next week impossible. But now that John and I are on a hot streak, woohoo! We predicted one person. We're going to go ahead and try and predict anyway.
Yeah, so I think just to be fair, because we don't know what the tribes are going to end up being, we should probably just pick two people that we think could go home. That'll maybe cover us. I thought about doing three, but then you start to up your odds too much. Let's make it a little risky and go for two.
Let's do a top 10, and then we'll...
Top 10 people that might go home next week so we can win this prediction.
And we still miss it.
Yeah, we probably would.
I will let our guest go first.
Okay. I'm going to say Trish, and I'm going to say Jeffra.
I'm going to say that you completely won me over with your line of thinking, and I'm going to steal it. Yeah, I think what you said about Jeffra and Alexis makes a lot of sense. They are typically the kind of players that are targeted early, and in this crazy up-is-down season, they haven't been. But that changes once they're no longer protected with their current alliance. So I'll also go with Jeffra, and no surprising nobody. I'm going
Tasha. Yeah, actually, I kind of forgot about Tasha when I was making my pick, but I would.
So, and I kind of am taking the hybrid route. I think Tasha, but then also Alexis would be my other one.
There you go. So that's
all right.
4 names.
So Sarah goes next week.
There are four different names total. I think it'll be one of those 4.
If at some point there's not a hashtag good cop, bad cop during a Sarah and Tony conversation this season, Survivor has failed us all.
I just want them to get a reward of coffee and donuts.
That would be amazing. Sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts.
Then I wonder if they kind of be like, "Come on, really?" Or they're just like, "Fuck yeah."
I should clarify for our Canadian listeners. Dunkin' Donuts is the equivalent of, say, a Tim Hortons.
It really isn't.
Oh.
I think what he's saying that Tim Hortons is much better.
Yeah, it took me a second. I was like, "Oh wait, am I wrong?" Oh no, he's trying to take a shot at the quality of our American corporations.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had to do that, otherwise they would have kicked me out of here. I mean, I don't even drink coffee. But.
You just drink your maple syrup like all Canadians do?
I mainline that. That's how I've been getting better.
You have the tap in the tree in your yard, and you're just like...
Maybe.
So after your family moved on from fur trade, they became maple tree farmers, of course.
Well, they were farmers for a while, probably. I mean, I live in the West. I don't know. I actually don't know. We participated in some rebellion that we barely even read about in our own history books, and you certainly wouldn't know anything about it.
We certainly would not.
I was going to say there were rebellions in Canada.
Oh, yeah. It was very tumultuous. People said mean things and everything.
Ooh. Good thing Twitter wasn't around. You might have had some mean at or replies.
Yeah. I don't know if there are 140 characters in Canadian history. Boom!
And on that note, let's wrap this thing up. Matt, nice seeing you again. Seeing you for the first time, technically, but talking to you again.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys, too. Thanks for having me on. Always happy to be here. And
those of you that would like to get involved in the podcast like some of our listeners did tonight, you can find us on Twitter at Purple Rock Pod. Andy, give us some other places they can find us.
Send us an email, purplerockpodcast@gmail.com. Apparently you can watch this on YouTube. Search the Purple Rock Podcast, you'd find it there. You can send us voicemails on Skype at Purple Rock Podcast. Is that right?
You know what? Just to be safe, you can do JR Purple Rock, or you can do Purple Rock Podcast. Either one of those will work.
And then subscribe and follow the podcast at purplerock.wordpress.com, or follow us on iTunes. I bet Matt follows us on iTunes.
I actually don't. I follow you on the WordPress.
Oh,
what is
good
it
save, because you almost got just kicked out of this conversation. Like,
I know,
time to mute Matt's mic. He doesn't follow us.
Come on, we're counting on those 10 downloads. So yes, now you've seen what we look like. I hope it hasn't destroyed all the illusions when you looked in your head and you thought, this is clearly, Brad Pitt conversing with George Clooney, or LJ and Jeremiah, if you were.
And if you're still listening and watching, stick around for the nudity portion of the broadcast.
All blurred.
Kind of blue.
We're going to go full Amanda Kimmel blur.
Now, how do we end this? We don't have a theme song. Na, 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 na.
And theme song. Oh. No theme song this week. Bye, everybody. See you next week. In audio form. Oh, shit. I'm scrolling over with my...